Best Wednesday show we've had in 8 months. Guaranteed. First things first. Today, the warning about Aaron Rodgers on last night's Hard Knocks episode that you might have missed, but you need to heed.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, could Jonathan Taylor join the Cowboys? Why it makes sense. And finally, is it time for us Chiefs fans to start worrying about Chris Jones? Alongside Chris Broussard, I'm Kevin Wildes. Nick, as a fellow Chiefs fan, are you worried about Chris Jones saying he's not going to show up until week 8?
You didn't see the great news?
What?
Oh, well, I don't want to spoil it. Great news.
About the Royals ballpark?
No, about the Chiefs. Great news. So, no, not time to panic is the short answer. Wow. No, great news.
Really?
Yeah, great news.
I think
I'm so dialed into Kansas City sports. You see how I dropped that? I talked to the mayor. Remember that? We start with earning Rodgers' trust. Randell Cobb has played 10 years with the Jets' new quarterback and shared this message about trust and Rodgers' patience in last night's episode of Hard Knocks. Take a listen.
I was just talking to 12 or 8, and he was just telling me, you know, we had a lot of mistakes in our room today. Just basic stuff, little things, right? Like, we can't have that. And it's all cool right now, but I'm telling you, one day he's going to lose his shit. It's going to happen if it continues to go the way it's going right now. Because if he don't trust you, he's not going to throw you the ball. I can promise you that. If he don't trust you, he don't not like throwing interceptions. So if he can't trust that you're going to run the right route, he's not going to throw it. It's just a matter of time.
Okay, Brew, your reaction.
Knowing you, Wildes, I'm guessing you don't like it. Oh, Rodgers is being mean. He's threatening them. That's not how you do it. I love it.
What?
I love it.
Okay, what?
All right, big boy football.
Done anything.
Because I know how Wildes thinks. Oh, you Rodgers, look at Rodgers being mean. That's not how you do it. No, it is how you do it. Those young receivers need to know what time it is.
Yeah, just like it helped the Packers young receivers last year.
Hey, get on the right page. This is the benefit of having a Hall of Fame quarterback or a future Hall of Fame quarterback. These guys want to please him. These guys will listen to him. These guys know he knows what he's talking about. It's like I said, it's the benefit of having LeBron James with the Lakers. Austin Reeves and Jared Vanderbilt, they want to please him. They want to impress LeBron. So you can say stuff like this, and it's actually good, I think, that it's coming from Randell Cobb. When it comes from Rodgers, they'll be into the season, but it's good right now. It's coming from Randell Cobb. And look, he couldn't say this, Cobb, or anybody, if it was Zach Wilson at quarterback. You couldn't say this if it was Mike White.
Mike White's going to lose his patience with you guys.
Right. Even if it's a Kirk Cousins, you can't call these receivers, especially a good one like Garrett Wilson and some of the others, on the carpet like this if you don't have that caliber of quarterback. So this is just what the doctor ordered for them. So I love it.
So listen, I don't think the story here is so much that it was said. I think the story is that Randell Cobb is telling the truth here, and I think that's a problem for this team, like it was a problem for last year's Packers team. The idea that Aaron Rodgers, if he doesn't trust you, is not going to throw you the ball, is not the path to success for a team with new or young receivers. It works when you have Devontae Adams. Works when you have Greg Jennings. Works when you have Randell Cobb in his prime. Works when you have Jordy Nelson. Last year, when you had Romeo Doubs, when you had Christian Watson, all of a sudden, two highly drafted players end up with barely more catches than Randell Cobb, who's one of the oldest receivers in the league. I think the idea that Rodgers, I don't care about the tough love. I care about the fact that Randell Cobb, what he's saying is true. Rodgers will freeze you out. And all of a sudden, who's he throwing to? Alan Lazard and Randell Cobb. And I think Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson's going to be good. Right. But you can't do it just. Garrett Wilson is not enough on his own. And I don't think.
He trusts Lazard.
Yeah, I understand that, but you need McCole Hardman or Corey Davis or someone, because Cobb is a wide receivers coach almost at this point.
Yeah.
You need somebody else. You need tight ends, because I know he's talking to the wide receivers. This applies to the tight ends. We saw in the NFC Championship game, Mercedes Lewis either dropped a pass or fumbled the ball and never got the ball again, was barely on the field again, even though he'd been one of the guys who'd been going to all year. There's a couple years ago. Like, Rodgers will turn on you. Yep. And turn on you is not in a real way, but you know what I mean? And so I don't think that Wilds is the right approach when none of these guys have had time to earn your trust yet. None of them.
Two of them will be fine. The ones we mentioned, Wilson and Lazard. I think Hardman from Kansas City. I think it could use a little kick in the butt. Get on top of his game.
I think Wilson's an excellent player. When you say he's going to be fine, I think even excellent young receivers sometimes run the wrong route, make mental mistakes. I think he can be a great young receiver and still do some of these things that Cobb is talking about, which is a problem, I think.
He's compared him to Devontae, though.
Sure.
So
okay.
I think he likes it.
I'm just saying. Darnold to Steve Young, too. So.
Here you go. So you didn't like it.
I'm just saying. Everybody's Devontae
Adams. I was wrong.
Brew, let me show you.
I was out there.
Let me show you this graphic. Rodgers' last 4 years throwing 30 yards down the field. Last year, 6 for 40. Completion percentage was 15%. I'm going to give you 3 doors to walk through. Reason number 1, door number 1. All the fuzzy reasons. Oh, it's trust. It's chemistry. There's a risk aversion to throwing interceptions. Door number 2. Aaron Rodgers is old and can't make those throws anymore. And door number 3 is Davante Adams wasn't there and your completions percentage dropped down to 15%. Which one of those options and which one of those doors do you want to walk through? And don't say thumb injury, because Josh pulled the numbers. He was 1 for 11 before week 5.
Wow, you should have saved that.
I know.
You should have saved it.
You
Let him
could have
say
really
thumb injury and then gone bam.
It was even worse.
Hit him.
It was even worse.
God.
I am going to walk through door number 1.
Just trust.
Yep, lack of trust. Because obviously he didn't light it up and put up Aaron Rodgers' numbers in the second half of the season, but he did trust the guys a little bit more, and they started winning and playing better.
So can I key in on one other thing Randall Cobb said that we know is true, that I also think is potentially problematic? When Randall Cobb said he doesn't like throwing interceptions.
Yep, I knew you were going to.
So there is a fine line when it comes to interceptions. Where they are on the field, you know what I mean? Where you are in the down clock, not the down clock, but you know what I mean? Is it third and long or is it first and 10? And how many is too many? And having the fewest interceptions in the league, as Rodgers had many times, is not always quite as good as it sounds. Because there is a level of chance taking that is worth it because the big play that comes from it. And I think that is illustrated with Rodgers more so because what is the play Rodgers maybe is most famous for? The Aaron Rodgers free play.
Yep.
Now, every quarterback's great on the free play because it's free play. Mahomes has gotten great at it as well. But Rodgers, he was considered the best in the world at it. And that's, to me, not coincidental in that, Aaron is taking some chances and making some plays here that he could make within the structure of a regular play, but because he knows there's no downside, and so maybe a little more of the Aaron Rodgers free play mentality when it's not a free play on a 3rd and 12 where it's going to end up a punt anyway. That is where I think Rodgers' kind of self-awareness of the conversation about him and the stats and the MVPs and all those things work against him to a degree. Because a few more picks might not be a bad thing, particularly when you're trying to gain chemistry with these young receivers.
No risk it, no biscuit. Let's take a look at the odds to win the AFC. Chris Jones lists Chiefs at 1, Bills at 2, Cincinnati's at 3, the Ravens coming in at 4, and then the Jets. I thought this was a graphic error, to be honest with you, Brew. Could the Jets win the AFC?
That is not a bad list. I mean, they're 5th on that list. I would love to say yes. Because and I'm not like, not that I'm just like this, I'm certainly not a Jets fan. I'm not like a huge Aaron Rodgers fan.
You do live in New Jersey.
I do now, but you know, but for the storylines, Number one, if Aaron Rodgers were somehow to lead them to the Super Bowl, just to the Super Bowl, let alone win it, the storyline would be fantastic.
Huge
now
one.
we're talking about where's he at on the all-time list, who's he passed up, and so on and so forth. And there are other storylines as well. Obviously, the Jets' first Super Bowl in 55 years. He did what Favre couldn't do. Like, it would be a fantastic story. Obviously, and if he could beat a Mahomes or a Burrow or whoever in the AFC title game. But I don't think their ceiling is the Super Bowl. I think their ceiling, and I'm not predicting they get here, but the ceiling's AFC Championship game.
Okay.
And you
The
know,
Arrowhead Invitation.
he has struggled in championship
Well,
games,
he's struggled in a number of things. So, I think Kansas City, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Miami, Buffalo, and the Chargers are all more likely. That's 7 teams. I would put them a similar likelihood of the Steelers. You know what I mean? Who are the Browns? But I know you like the Browns. You know what
I know, but the conference is so deep.
The conference is crazy deep. I haven't even mentioned the Broncos. I give them a better chance the Broncos. Here's the problem, though, and I think we do. If we have the Rodgers playoff stats full screen, we can put it up. This is since winning the Super Bowl. So here's the thing. He's been miserable on the road. Does anybody think the Jets have any path to home field advantage?
No.
Of course not. He's had one excellent road playoff game since the Super Bowl, where, if you remember, they were on the road all the way to the Super Bowl. That was the epic game against Dallas and Dak Prescott. He had the amazing throw down the sideline at the end. That's the only one. And so I don't think the Jets have any chance of being one of the top 2 seeds in the AFC. And they obviously, unless they're going to rename MetLife Arrowhead, it would be weird for the Arrowhead Invitational to be held there. Yeah. So they're going to be on the road at the very least at the AFC title game if they were to get there. And I have no reason to believe Aaron Rodgers is going to play well in a road playoff game. I just don't.
What about the home playoff games lately in Green Bay?
Absolutely.
He came on late to make the stats look good, but he didn't play great.
Do you have the breaking news? Did you get it?
Well, Dusty told me.
Yeah, I just saw it too. I think it's worth mentioning.
It's serious.
I thought it was.
I don't know.
Joking.
No, this is actual breaking news about the team we're talking about. Corey Davis, Jets wide receiver, he just retired. He announced it on Instagram. So I don't know if the tough love
Randell
is good or
Cobb
bad. I don't know. The
Scared him?
I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with it. I was like, Corey Davis, who right now is listed as one of their starting wide receivers, he was like, man, this guy's not going to throw me the ball. I'm out here. I'm just telling you, Corey Davis retired.
Rodgers hasn't played in a preseason game since 2018. But since this is a new team, he's going to lace them up on Saturday against the Giants. Here's his take on the preseason tune-up.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that risk-reward. I think over the years, it just hasn't made sense based on a number of different factors. But I used to enjoy playing the preseason back in my younger years, just to kind of maybe take that first hit, feel the kind of the nerves in the first drive. So I look forward to being out there. It was not much of a conversation with Robert. I think he was a little more nervous. I might have said no, but I was already leaning towards asking him to play. So it was an easy conversation.
A fascinating coach-quarterback relationship.
It's a really interesting coach-quarterback.
That was just...
did you see when they said, there's an earlier episode of Hard Knocks, where he's like, Saleh was like, so what do you want to do at halftime? Do you like stay quiet? Do you like there to be talking? He's like, no, I like to talk about it. And Saleh was like, yeah, good, that's what we like to do. It is, and again, I'm not judging it, because Saleh is a younger head coach, and Rodgers been in the league, but it is a very interesting dynamic they have.
All right, so Brew, the question is, does Rodgers need this tune-up game?
Need is too strong. I mean, for a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best to ever do it, to need a preseason game where he's going to play what? A few possessions? He won't play the first half. He might not even play the whole first quarter. So I think need is too strong. Now, I think it's a great idea. I would like to see him out there with the starting offensive line, all right, or most of it. Dwayne Brown won't be there.
No, they just activated Dwayne Brown.
Is he going to play?
I don't know if he's going to play, but he's now activated off PUP list.
Okay, so he needs to get behind the offensive line. You want to see him with these receivers. I mean, I don't want his first game action as a Jet with these new teammates to be against Buffalo in week 1.
Well, that's why he needs to play. Well, that's why he needs play.
Like would he
Not
be
like you
in
need
deep
water
trouble?
in the desert.
If
but
he
like,
needs it, let him play the first half.
Okay,
full
but now
first
you're
half?
I mean,
going
if he
straight.
needs
No,
it,
that's too
Okay.
risky.
he needs 2 possessions.
Okay,
10 plays. That's going to do it?
No, I think it is a good idea for him to play. I think
I
for
agree
him to
with
play
that.
with it behind this offensive line and with this receiving core that now is evidently down Corey Davis. So it's now Garrett Wilson, Lazard, Hardman, Cobb.
I can live with that.
You like Hardman a hell of a lot more now that he's not a Chief
No,
than you
I
did
liked
when he was
him as
with
a
the
Chief.
Chiefs.
I liked him as a Chief.
And so I think it's smart. I think playing Rodgers is smart. I understand that if some freak thing happens and he gets hurt, everyone's going to kill Saleh. And I've been very critical of Saleh's game management. I don't know that we have any reason to believe he's an excellent coach. That would be unfair. There is an element of, in order to get ready for anything, doing it helps you get ready for it. I don't care what that thing is, and it is not like it was for Rodgers at any other time in his career because he's with a new team. And even the one other thing I will say, and we always got to remember this part of it, even if in that 11-person huddle, Rodgers doesn't need it, those other 10 might. Those other 10, how he calls the play,
remember
the
he did
feel
like
of
the little gun.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was gun.
The hand signal stuff,
pointer
all
finger.
of that there's an element of, for the center, is it going to be helpful to, have
Well,
real
offensive line hadn't even been together yet.
Exactly. And so for the young receivers, for all that, yes, I think it's a smart idea for them to play. Also, probably the last chance for the Jets to win for about a month. So,
You know 2 Jets starting quarterbacks have been hurt in the preseason games against the Giants.
I did not know
Chad Pennington and Mark Sanchez.
I did not know that.
I'm grinding. Y'all up there figuring out your jokes you're going to say. Me and Dusty are getting busy doing research. Journalists, baby.
The worry of Chiefs fans like myself.
Good point. I mean, that's what I'm doing.
Figure out you got some more Destiny's Child to sing.